Good day everyone, welcome back to this channel. So today we are going to be building a very simple HTML, CSS and JavaScript project. So in this project we'll be having a counter that would increment whose value would increment by 1 upon clicking on this button and decrement by 1 when you click on this button. And of course you could reset it back to 0 and reset it back to 0. And if you'd notice, you would see that the colors are quite different. Whenever the value is greater than 0, the color is this, and whenever the value is less than 0, it goes back to this color. I could reset it back. So let's get started. So first we'll be creating our index.html file. And I'll be giving this a title of JavaScript counter HTML CSS. I think I should do that. So HTML CSS and JavaScript counter. So for our basic markup, we'll be having a main element that would house a div that contains all of this. So basically we have an h1, we have a span tag, and we have 3 buttons. Very simple setup. So I would have my main class, my main elements rather. So main, then I have a div of container. I have a class of container, sorry. And I have my h1 that has the content counter. Then counter is span tag with the content, so the value of 0. This value will obviously change when we start using JavaScript with it. And I have 3 divs that houses 3 buttons. So I'm going to give, okay, let me just so I have 3 divs. I will have one will have a button of decrements. The value of decrements is sets and increments. So for me to be able to style this individually and give them different JavaScript properties, functionalities rather, I would give them different class names, but they would all have a unique class name of btn. So this is going to be decrement, since this is also going to be class of just btn. This would be a class of btn increments. So yeah, we have our basic HTML markup ready. So I'll be starting my live server so we can see what we have. So this is what we have. Yeah, so we're almost there. We have a counter 0. Don't worry, to be fine very soon. So we'll be adding our CSS. We're adding a CSS file to this. Style.css. So let me let's just preview and see it. So I'll do a link. And yeah, we'll start our CSS. So first, do not forget to always remove this default padding and margin that are usually around our elements. So we would select all the elements in DOM and give them a padding of 0, margin of 0. So as you can see, there are no more spaces around here again. So we have to target our individual elements. So let me just close this and swipe this to the right so you could see the elements you are targeting. So for our main, which is our parent container, we would be giving it a display flex. Of course, we'll align our items to the center and justify our contents also to the center. This would not show yet, so we give it a height. So I'm going to give it a height of 100 ph. Okay, as you can see, it is aligned to the center. Give it a width of 4. Yeah, so we have our items center, and I'm going to be targeting our H1 elements. Increase the font size to 2.5 rem. Do a text transform to text transform to capitalize. Then for our span, we'll be giving it an ID of value. So I'm going to so for my value, that's my span tag, I am going to do a font size of 6 rem, quite big. Font size of 6 rem. Okay. Then a font width, or I want to make it bold. Font width, so font width to be bold. Okay. Yeah, so we have it here. It's getting a shape gradually. So for all our buttons, since we have a generic class of button, we'll use that to handle our buttons. So we're going to select the button class, do a text transform of uppercase, text transform of uppercase, then give it a background of transparent. Okay, then we're going to give it a display of inline block. So they all align. Yeah, so we have the alignments there. We'll give it a color of black. Then we'll give some padding to it. Padding of top and bottom of 0.5 rem. Then left and right of 0.75 rem. Because we have to give it a border so it could show. So we have to give it a border with a border of 2 pixel solid red. I want to do a little bit of animation, so I'll give it a transition of 0.8 seconds. Yeah, so that's the animation. Then do a box shadow of 0.1 pixel, 3 pixel, then RGB of 0, 0, 0, and 0.2. So I'll give it a margin of 0.5 rem and make the cursor to be a pointer. So I think we're done. And for this container, I want all my items here to be at the center. So I'm going to select the container class, container, and give it a text align center so everything stays at the bottom. Yep. So this is pretty much the design we have here. Yeah. So I will be adding a little bit of responsiveness, so doesn't so I'm going to do a media query at media screen. this media screen commit between values of both it's a pixel, that is for small screen. I want my btn to display block. So if I put it in responsive, you can see how the buttons are now. You can see. So when it gets back. So that's the responsiveness for it. So fine, I think we are almost there. So let's start our JavaScript now. So add more functionality to this. So I'll be creating a JavaScript file. So index.js. Then because I would have to add it to my script here, index.js. Okay, so let's start. So for this, we'll be using DOM manipulation majorly to grab each of these elements and add JavaScript functionality to them. So I want to declare a variable called counter to be equal to 0 as its initial value. Then I want to hold this this particular value, the span that has the ID of value. So since this value is going to change that JavaScript, we have to put it in a container and add some JavaScript to it for functionality. So it changes as you click each of those buttons. So I'm going to set this to document. I'm going to be using the query selector and wrap the ID. Wrap the ID of value. So I have access to it now. Then so all my buttons, I want to store them in a buttons variable. So I'll be using my query selector all. So I now have access to all the buttons since they have class name of btn. So everything is saved to these buttons. So I will be doing a for each on this buttons variable so as to have access to each of these buttons and give them their individual JavaScript functionalities. So I'm going to do the buttons dot for each. Then I would have a callback function. So I'll have a callback function that accepts a btn argument. So if you want to see each of these buttons, so I could do a console.log, so you could see each of the buttons. btn. So now you can see each of the buttons. So you can see each of the buttons. So this is my for each is a loop that loops through. Don't forget that I saved all the classes with the class of btn inside this buttons variable. So each of these buttons are uniquely identified with this btn parameter. So this is my button 1. As you can see, as I am on each of these buttons, it is also showing here that this is where I am. So we have access to all of these buttons. So I just wanted to show you. So since we have access to all of the buttons, we would be doing we'll be adding an event listener to each of the buttons. we're adding a click event list. Now a click event, and if upon clicking, this function is triggered. So I want to have access to my events object. I want to have access to my events object. I think I should close this so you don't have this again. I want to have access to my events object, and on each of my events objects, I want to grab the property called current target there. So this is what this does. So let me make a console log so you could see. So if I do an event.current targets, this is what is logged in. So let's see our console. If I click this, can you see that as soon as I click a particular button, the target is printed out in the console. So that means I have access to each of this. So here I want to have access to each of the class names here. So I will be adding a class list. So there is a class list option here that I could use to target each of my classes. As you can see, these are the class lists there. I have two classes here, the btn and the decrements. If you go to my HTML, I have two classes, btn and decrement. So it's working perfectly well. So for us to be able to use this to change the value of this, we need to save this in a variable. So I'm going to const what name can I give it? So it's a class list. I could just call it I don't want to use the name class, so I could just say styles, class styles, something like that. So it could be anything. It's a variable name, class styles equals this. So since we have access to this now, we would be doing some logic here. So if this variable contains each of the class list that we want it to contain, then we'll tell it to do a particular logic. So this is what I mean. So if class styles dot contains this particular string decrements, we want the counter, this counter variable to change. So we want our counter to decrement by 1. So we could do another one for the increments. So if our class list contains increments, then we want it to increment by 1. Oh, so it does not contain all of this, either increment and decrement, then we just want it to do an else, and we just want it to return our counter to 0. So do not forget to set your text contents. Don't forget that we grabbed this 0 with the ID of value to be equal to this value. This is a variable, so we set our text contents on the variable, on the value variable, to be equal to whatever the result of this logic is. So that's our counter. So let's see. Is equal to our counter. So this should work now. Okay, this is working, this is working, this is not working. So let's check. Oh, sorry. So this will be an else if, because the first one has been is either if this is the first thing to look for, then if this doesn't pass, it goes to an else if, then it returns back to an else. So let's see. So it's working now. Okay. So we've been able to achieve this, except the color part. So let's just do a little bit of styling to it. So for the coloring, since the colors are not static, they are dependent on the value of this zero. So we'll be using an if logic again. So we'll say if the value of counter is greater than 0, then we want value, this value variable, and the style color. We want to set the style, the color, the style property to be equal to let's use this example, C89CFF. Okay. Let's see. It is greater than 0. It's working well. If the counter color, I will just copy this really. If the counter is less than 0, then we want our value dot style dot color to be equal to red. So this is the exact code for red. Okay, I think 0 is too much. Okay, don't forget to put it in a string. So let's see. So decrement is 0. So yeah, so we have it. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, ask questions in the comment sections, and I will be leaving the link to the code base where you can find the source code to this project. Thank you so much. Do not forget to add it to your portfolio if you want. Do not forget to add it to your portfolio if you want. So, thank you. Do have a lovely day ahead.